Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your interest in this info session. I am Mariana Fernandes. I work at INL, the International Iberian Nanotechnology Laboratory, and I am here on behalf of the INNO4COV-19 consortium to let you know a little bit more about our project, INNO4COV-19, and about the open call. I will start by first sharing with you some information on our project so that you can better understand how the open call and the selected projects then fit within the objectives and the overall goal of INNO4COV-19. So INNO4COV-19 project stands for Boosting Innovation for COVID-19 Diagnostic, Prevention and Surveillance. Our project is being funded within the Horizon 2020 framework, and it is part of the Coronavirus Global Response Initiative held by the European Commission. And the overall idea of this initiative is to contribute to the acceleration of the uptake of innovative technologies to tackle COVID-19 and to better prepare Europe and its citizens to future pandemics that we may face in the future. So the project has an overall budget of around 6.2 million euros, and it will be implemented during the next 2 years. So it already started in October 2020, and the end date is expected to be on September 2022. So the project is being implemented by a consortium of 11 partners. So the partners were gathered in order to ensure that we had within the consortium all the necessary expertise, know-how, and capabilities to support companies and other other relevant actors when taking their technologies, specifically medical technologies, to the market. And so we are, of course, talking about capabilities that are related with technical, clinical, regulatory, and business issues. So to let you know a little bit more about the aim of INNO4COV-19, so the mission is to create a lab-to-fab platform that will contribute, that we expect that will contribute to unify the European response in the fight against COVID-19 or other future pandemics. And we are going to do that by establishing an open innovation platform that will then be divided in 4 sub-platforms within, or that will be dedicated to these 4 technology domains that you can see here in the screen. And I will get into a minute. And the idea is that we gather all the resources, the tools that companies and innovators across Europe can reach to in order to implement and take to the market innovative technologies. So we are talking about support that will be provided from the IT assessment to the market exploitation. And during this 2 years of implementation, what we are going to do is then to subdivide this platform in 4 sub-platforms. So we will have a sub-platform that will have a catalog of services, infrastructures, experts available to innovators that can contribute to the development of technologies that are framed in innovative diagnostic and screening systems. And here we are tackling, for instance, technologies that can be used to detect the presence of the pathogen-related parameters, especially in an early stage of infection, that use advanced technologies, more reliable, cost-effective, and so on. We will also be looking into technologies that are framed within the environmental surveillance, with the idea of being a sentinel for the viral re-emergency and spread in communities. And so technologies that are able to tackle the virus spread, for instance, through wastewater, through air systems, and so on. We will then obviously have a platform that will be dedicated to sensors and devices for telemedicine and telepresence. And here we are addressing specific technologies that are able to remote monitoring COVID-19 related parameters to ensure telemonitoring and telepresence and telemedicine. On a last sub-platform, we are addressing the protective equipment, not only for people, not only for the general public and for health practitioners, but also for ensuring safer public spaces. And here we are addressing, of course, the masks, the new filters to be integrated in the masks, but also advanced technologies that can be used for For example, in sterilization, in ensuring the distancing in public spaces to ensure the disinfection and so on. And our approach to develop these platforms that I just explained to you is by feeding the platform in during these 2 years with two main drivers, let's say. So on one hand, we are going to support and we are supporting 5 test cases that are representative of the technology domains, 4 technology domains. And these test cases are technologies that are proprietary or that are developed by the consortium. We have here the 4 partners that are contributing with the test cases that we have and that we are developing within our project. And on one hand, we also have the selected projects, or let's call them the external projects that we will be selecting through the INNO4COV-19 open call. And so by supporting these 2 set of projects, we will gather useful insights and lessons, so best practices that can be then integrated or that can be then used by the partners in the consortium to further develop and to improve our services, our capabilities to support you in implementing and uptaking the technologies to the market. And our idea is then, after all of this process, that we are able to have this one shop for all, let's say, that you can come to us and you will find technical, regulatory, and business support, and also the tools that you need to ensure the clinical validation and testing of your technologies in real conditions. So as you may be aware, we had already a first cutoff of the open call. So in general, this open call for proposals, so we are expecting to select a minimum of 30 projects to be supported within this open call and during these next 2 years. And we have a total of 3 million euros to provide as a financial support, which means that, and you will see also when I dig into the details of the open call, that each project has a maximum of financial support of 100K. And so we had already a first cutoff. It was a very successful cutoff. So we have received 135 applications. Out of these 135, 112 were considered eligible, and they were fully evaluated by 9 evaluation committees that we have established to analyze the proposals in detail. And at the end, we selected 18 projects in different technology domains. So with an obvious predominance of technologies on the technology domain of protective equipment for people and safe public, but we managed to have technologies from all the technology domains that we are focusing on our project. I invite you to take a look into our website and to follow our social media, where we will be disseminating or posting videos that explain a little bit more the technologies that we are supporting and the objective of the technologies and in their impact in the fight against COVID. But now what we have to share with you is 4 videos. So we are going to share a video per technology domain, so that you can better understand the type of projects and the type of technologies that we are supporting on this first cutoff. So I expect that you are already.
My name is Stefan, and I'm one of the co-founders of XVision. XVision is a Romanian startup that aims to assist radiologists in analyzing medical images with the help of artificial intelligence. Our system is deployed in 27 hospitals and is successfully used by medical professionals. During the INNO4COV project, our aim is to enhance the accuracy of our algorithms, to extend our capabilities for COVID detection on X-rays, and to tap into the algorithms that detect COVID on computer tomography. Along with this, we plan to expand the network of hospitals that work with XVision as much as possible. Thank you very much, and we'll keep you updated throughout the project.
COVID-19 pandemic highlighted the need to support patients at home through remote monitoring systems. Patients with mild symptoms of COVID-19 or with other conditions and not hospitalized require continuous monitoring of physiological parameters and remote support from medical staff. MyHealthCov is a telemedicine platform based on artificial intelligence which combines several technologies for continuous remote monitoring and support of patients in their home. The platform provides a video visit system, an intelligent voice assistant and chatbot tool, and an IoT system able to collect physiological parameters by wearable devices, as well as oxygen saturation, perfusion index, heart rate, and respiratory function. The collected data are integrated with electronic health records and processed through machine learning and AI algorithms to support the correct understanding of clinical manifestations and the planning of personalized care pathways. With the support of the INNO4COV-19 network partners, the objective of the project is the certification of the MyHealthCov platform as medical device to guarantee the safety and compliance of the product for commercialization at European level.
As we all know by now, SARS-2 COVID-19 is a highly contagious airborne spread disease. In March 2020, Altiria Automation started the development of ION, a new product range using its know-how and proprietary technology in photonics and smart sensors. ION Air is an innovative air disinfection equipment to fight airborne virus and bacterial infection. Closed spaces are 20 times more likely to produce COVID-19 infections. Further, air conditioning systems have been identified as a key source of infection by many recent scientific studies. ION Air is a UVC disinfection equipment that kills virus, bacteria, and pathogens in the air conditioning systems, with applications in most public places such as hospitals, malls, hotels, restaurants, factories, and mass transportation. ION Air helps to restore safety and confidence in the consumer, essential to reactivate the economy. Our competitive advantages are a modular design, an electro-less ultraviolet source with a 40,000-hour lifespan, a unique off-duct design that avoids turbulence and vibration, and most important, ION Air is the only system in the market providing real-time traceability and full reporting of the disinfection process to a cloud server. ION Air is one of the few ultraviolet systems fully certified in Europe by SGS and INTA, where it has been proven that kills 99.86% of the COVID-19 virus load in just 1 second of exposure.
Well, thank you for watching the videos. So now now that you have a clearer idea of the projects that we have that we are supporting in this first cutoff, I will next share with you some information that is relevant for the second cutoff. So we have included, I don't know if you already seen it, but so we have included some changes in the guide for applicants. So I strongly advise you to take a look into the document. And the major difference is that at the beginning we were going to have 3 cutoffs, but due to the high success rate of this first cutoff and to the emergency of an action by Europe and worldwide, of course, regarding the recent developments in what relates to COVID-19, we decided to postpone the second cutoff until the end of April and to merge the second and the third cutoff to ensure that we have a quicker response to the challenges of COVID-19. But despite the changes and the adjustments that were made to in relation to the first cutoff. So the overall aim of the open call, it's exactly the same. So we aim to accelerate the development and the commercialization of your technologies as long as they are aimed at tackle COVID-19. And we are looking specifically for technologies that are already at a later stage of development. So we will only be considering technologies that were validated in relevant environments. So according to the definition of the European Commission in what relates to technology readiness level, we are addressing technologies that are located or that are a minimum a TRL 6. And that focus on one of the four technology domains that we have also that we are also focusing on our project, and that the platforms will be divided into. And so we are talking about the four technologies that I have just presented to you. But let me just share with you that in the second cutoff, we will be given priority to projects that are framed within the technology domain of environmental surveillance, and or those that are related to the identification and detection of new SARS-CoV-2 variants, given the recent developments in COVID-19 context. Although we are going to select proposals, and it is our aim also to select the best proposals that we receive, priority will be given to these two type of technologies that I shared. So as previously said, so the second cutoff, the deadline is at the end of April. So already in 1 month from now, you still have 1 month to prepare your application and to submit it. Why should you apply? So apart from the financial support that we will be providing, which is up to 100,000 euros, 100% funded, that will allow you to have access to competences and know-how from our network, primarily through the expert service acquisition. You will also be able to have tailored support from our side and guidance. So in terms of what is the technical, regulatory, and business aspects of your technology. Also, we will also be providing media exposure to your technology. So we will be supporting you in disseminating your technologies. We will try to showcase your technologies in relevant events that will be developed and that are foreseen to happen at an European level. And how what are the specificities or the rules that you have to take into account when considering to apply? So in terms of the eligibility criteria, so the call is targeted for companies or consortia of companies that are legally recognized and need to have to qualify for H2020 funding. And so here you also have to comply with some other specific criteria in terms of the type of applicant that you can check also in our guide for applicants, but you have to not have been convictions or for fraudulent behavior, for instance, and you have to be a company that is not under a liquidation situation and so on. So you can check all these specificities on the guide for applicants. You have to be based in one of the member states or an associated country to H2020. Here, let me share with you that, as you can see also on the screen, that entities from the UK are eligible through the open call and through the H20 program. And of course, you have to fit, or your technology has to fit under one of the 4 technology domains that I shared with you. So you have to select the technology domain that best suits your technology, that best applies, okay? Because your evaluation, the evaluation of your proposal will be done according to the technology domain that you frame your technology in. And so if the experts, the panel, decides or evaluates that your proposal does not fit that technology domain, you will not be considered eligible. So please be careful when selecting the technology domain that you want to share to fit your proposal. As I said before, so we are only looking to technologies that are addressed between TRL 6 and 7, okay, as a starting point. So this is the starting point of your technology. And in terms of the project duration, so we are looking into projects that have a maximum duration of 1 year, and that will have to be concluded the maximum until the end of August 2022. Some information or some relevant situations that are not eligible. So research and technology organizations are not eligible, such as other organizations that are not considered companies, companies that are profitable. Okay, so if we are looking into associations or non-profit organizations, so they are not eligible within our open call. Another important thing is that applications that are submitted by persons or organizations that are partners in the INNO4COV-19 consortium or that are formally linked to partners will not be considered eligible, since this would constitute a conflict of interest. So these are the main two situations of non-conformity with the eligibility criteria. Other relevant aspects related to the cost. So when you are planning your budget, you will have to consider these as eligible costs. So personnel resources, as long as the member teams that you are considered or the personnel is involved in the implementation of the project. So for instance, to define the technology set challenge, to discuss implementation options, to also be involved in the validation, in the definition of the regulatory strategy, for instance, or even for business development. So the personnel needs to be involved in the activities of the project. We are also considering to cover costs that are related with consumables, components, and materials for product technology development, as well as for validation and tests that are mandatory to ensure that your technology is at the right stage to be exploited. We are also covering costs that are related with travel, accommodation, and subsistence. Of course, that given the context, these costs might not be that relevant for you, but you might have some needs in terms of validations or in terms of meetings for business development and so on. So we will also contemplate these costs in the financial support. Another point, which is also very relevant, is the support services for product technology development, validation, and for the exploitation of your technology. Here we are considering support services that are provided from our network, but also from other service providers. This is something that we have been asked through our help desk and also during the first cutoff. And here we are not only supporting costs with our support services, okay? So this is open to the service providers that you may feel are more relevant for delivering the needs, for addressing the needs that you have. And finally, we also will be covering overheads as long as they don't exceed 15% of the total costs, excluding subcontractors. What is not eligible is the acquisition of equipment, so standard equipment. If we are here talking about equipment that is mandatory for technical validations, exceptions can be made, but this has to be justified, okay? But if we are talking about standard equipment, this will not be considered. Also, costs that are not related with the project implementation, of course, so they have to be related with the activities that are foreseen, and costs that are incurred before the project start date. And here, just a clarification that might be useful when you are planning the costs and the activities. So the start date cannot be set before the official communication of the results. So we, as I will show you next, we will be, so the cutoff will be at the end of April, and we will have 40 working days for completing the evaluation procedure. And after that, we will be disclosing, or we will be communicating the results. And only after this date, when you receive the official communication, you will be able to start your project and also to start collecting or to start having expenses that can be covered by our financial support. And lastly, of course, costs that are already funded by other European Union project or other open call that is currently open or currently ongoing are not going to be covered by our project. So you will have to let us know when you apply if you have submitted your project or your idea to other calls, so that's okay. You can have projects that are submitted in several calls, but the costs and the scope of the project itself in our open call must be original. So you cannot have double funding for your costs, for the same costs. So other relevant criteria and information. English is the only language, official language throughout the entire process. So all the documents, all the communications, if you are selected for the interview, everything will be done in English. Any legal entity will be able to apply more than once with more than one project, okay? So you can apply with 2 projects or 3 projects, but no project can be funded twice by our open call. We have also the limit for the financial support that is applicable both for parties, so no single party can receive more than 100 euros, 100,000 euros, and this limit is applicable also per project. And the mandatory submission tool is the F-Success that you have here, the link, and it's also available on our website. So we will not be receiving applications through email. So even if you start your application on the F-Success and you submit your application, if you want to resubmit a new version before the cutoff, you need to send us an email for us to reopen your application because we will not be receiving new files per email through email. And now, how should you start your application? So these are the 5 mandatory steps. So first, download and carefully read the guide for applicants. You will find all the relevant information there. You will also have information on the evaluation process that we have and that we will have and the timings. And apart from this guide for applicants document, you can also find a document that has some frequently asked questions so that you can quickly navigate through them and find an answer to your question. We will try to update this document as much as possible. And you can also, of course, send us an email through help desk. You will see the email at the end of this presentation, and you can also see the email in our website. So you can drop us an email and we will try to be as fast as possible. So after reading carefully this document and making sure that you are an eligible applicant and that you have an eligible project, you can download the proposal template and carefully read the sections and what is asked on each section. I will go into more details on this document in the next slides. And I can highlight some of the relevant aspects that you need to take into account. After completing the proposal template, save it as a PDF file, and you can start your application on F-Success and fill in the online form that you have there and upload the proposal file and submit your application. And after 40 days after the end of the cutoff date, 40 working days, we will be communicating to you the results if you were successful or not. Now, where to begin? So you can check our website. We have a tab that is dedicated to the open call where you can find all relevant information. You can also check on this web page the results from the first cutoff and some figures from the first cutoff if you are interested. And you have the set of documents that you will need to submit your application. And if you click to the button that is there, apply here, you will be redirected to the F-Success platform, where you will have to perform a registration. So this platform is free of charge, but you will have to register. So it's a very quick and straightforward registration procedure. You only have to fill in really simple information to apply, because we will only be looking into the information that you include on our online form, okay? So the contact, make sure that the person that will be the main contact point throughout the entire process, so right after you submit the application until the end of the evaluation process, that main contact that you include there is the person that we need to contact, because we will not be making contacts through the F-Success, okay? Only if we are not able to contact you directly through the email that you give us on the online form. So make sure that the contacts are right. And so this is let's say the simple information that you have to start submitting or preparing our application. Now, if we go a little bit deeper into the technical proposal, so the sections that we have there are typical from this type of projects, from this type of proposals. So we have a project summary where you have to disclose the information, all the relevant information, and to give us a quick overview of what your project is, concept and objectives, outcomes and impact, implementation, resources, and an ethical checklist. So one thing that we really need to highlight here is that we ask you to not disclose any confidential information, because although the consortium is binded by a non-disclosure agreement that we have within our consortium agreement and within ourselves, we do not want to be responsible for receiving confidential information from you. So we advise you to be safe on this. And if you want to, or if you feel the need to disclose confidential information, then we can see if we sign a specific NDA to receive that information. But we are asking you to please take this into account. So if we look into more detail into the sections that we have on our technical proposal, so the project summary here, also let me just let you know that for those of you that are resubmitting proposals, so we have done some changes here on the technical proposal. So we have enlarged a little bit the characters in some sections, since we have included some mandatory aspects that you need to address. So please, when preparing your resubmission, download the last version of the technical proposal. And so starting with the project summary, here you have to provide a brief non-confidential description of your project. We will be using this in case your proposal is successful. We will be using this text to disseminate your project and use it in our social media and so on. So this is very important to have non-confidential information here for sure. Here you have to clearly describe what is your product or your technology, the need that you are addressing in the fight against COVID, and to be very clear on what the proposal is. Then you will have the opportunity to further dig in the information here on this new section, so the concept and objectives. So in this section, you will have to describe the project, the concept, the specific objectives. Here, try to have SMART objectives, okay? SMART objectives that can be specific, measurable, that have a timeline, that are achievable during the time frame of your project. And that when we evaluate your project, we can see that clearly exactly what you intend with the financial support and with your project. And try to identify target key performance indicators. We advise you here that you use, for instance, a table or bullet points to describe your objectives, since it is more easily understandable when a person is reading our proposal if you put this in a schematic way. Here also in this section, you have to explain how your technology solution addresses COVID-19 related challenges that are not currently solved by existing solutions. Here you have to make sure that you identify, in case there are competing solutions, you identify in what extent does your proposal differentiate from the existing solutions, okay? Also, you will have to identify the challenges, the technical or business or regulatory challenge and barriers that you expect to solve with our support, okay? And the type of support that is needed, not only from our network, but through the financial support that you are requesting. And here, please make sure that you identify also the TRL of your project and the evolution that you expect to attain during the project. So the start and the end, the TRL, the start TRL and the end TRL that you expect to obtain. Please try to use as much as visual representation as possible. So we should be able to have a smooth reading of your proposal. Okay, so these are just tips on if we are on the evaluator side, try to put yourself on the evaluator side when preparing this section. Let me also stress that in this section, you have also to address the regulatory and certification challenges or the strategy that you want to obtain throughout the project. So on the third bullet point that you have here, so technical and business challenges, here you also have to address the regulatory and certification, because as you are aware, in medical technologies, this is of utmost importance, and we have to make sure that you are aware of the necessary steps and the strategy, or even if you have already a strategy in place and what type of certifications that you have already in your company and in your technology, and in specific regarding your technology. Now, going into the section of outcomes and impact. So on the outcomes and impact, you will have to describe the key outcomes of your product. Okay, so the impact that it will have on the market, and in particular in relation to COVID-19. So explain how your company is positioned to exploit the results, what is the exploitation strategy, how your proposal is related also with the vision and the objectives of our project, and how is the added value contribution, how do you expect our contribution is to successfully implement your project. So here in this section, you have to clearly identify the support services that you will be requesting from us, okay? So on the implementation part, you will see that you have a table for providing information for each activity. So here, this section is breakdown into activities. So you will have to provide us your timeline and your activities and your tasks, your milestones that you need to achieve, okay? So we will have to describe basically the work plan that you have to implement it or to achieve the objectives that you have described on the section concept and objectives. This section, of course, then should answer the question, how are you going to implement the project to reach the proposed objectives, okay? Here, please list the timing of the activities, include tasks, so include as much detail as possible within the limits that we have given to you, of course, but please be very concise and make sure that the implementation plan that you have is aligned with the objectives that you have, and also with the amount of the financial support that you will be requesting. Because we understand that if we are talking about the technology, you might have, of course, that 100,000 euros might not be enough to successfully take your technology to the market if we are talking about the entire process. So, of course, that you might have costs that will have to be incurred by you individually, okay, privately, let's say, without our financial support. And so we understand that there is a bigger objective attached to your technology. But what we asked really is that here on the project, you specifically address the objectives that are related with the financial support and align it with the implementation plan, okay? Because we will be looking into that when we are evaluating. So we will be checking if the implementation plan is aligned with everything, all the rest of your proposal. So in terms of the resources and taking a little bit of what I just said before. So here, when you are planning the overall budget, do it according to the implementation plan that you have. So be sure that they are aligned. You have to identify the budget and break down into these 3 tables. So first, you have to let us know what is the expected budget for each activity, and then you will have to detail for budget item. Here, let me also let you know that we ask you to specify exactly what are the support services that you will be requesting from us and from other service providers, and to divide the value, so indicate the value that you will be expecting also from us. As you are aware, we have a table, or if you are not aware, I will show you in the next slide, a table of the type of support services that we can provide within our network, so that you can also include here in the description and the need, but I will go there in the next slide. So just to finish this section, if it's the case that you have HR, so human resources costs, contemplated in your budget, So you will have a table that you need to fill with a profile of the team or the people that will be involved in the project. And you will have to indicate us the effort, so the person months that you expect for each profile, the monthly rates, and then the direct personal cost. It's very straightforward. You just have to multiply these two first columns to have the overall value for each profile. And then you will have to let us know in which activities that profile will be involved. Okay. And so this is the part of the resources. And just to make here some extra note on the support services. So we have included this on the guide for applicants. Of course, that these type of services are very general. We are aware of that. But because this is also a process, a learning and adaptive process for us, since you are aware, and at the beginning of the presentation, I just explained to you that the catalog of services, the infrastructures that we are preparing for the platforms will also be developed with your help, okay, with your help by supporting and by following up your project. So the support services that we have included here and that we are disclosing are general, but of course that after your proposal, if your proposal is successful, we will further dig into this. We will have meetings to better define the extent of our support services. But just for you to have an idea, these are the type of activities or the support that we can provide. The services are mapped against the 11 partners that we have within the consortium. We have here services that are more related with technical aspects. For instance, the access to demonstration, testing, and pilot production facilities, or also toxicity tolerance, nanosafety tests, for instance. But we also have support services that are more related with regulatory strategy building, assistance and support, and adapting to the European regulations. We also have business support, market assessment, support services towards the CE marking, and so on. So we invite you to take a look into our capabilities, to take a look also into the profile of our partners in the websites. In our website, you can also be redirected to the partners website, and you can have a clearer idea of our expertises and our technologies, our infrastructure. Regarding the costs, so as we have been receiving questions related to the way that you are going to determine or to identify the exact costs for our support services. But to ensure a clear and transparent process, we are not allowed to interact with applicants during the proposal preparation. And so what we advise you is that you consider the values that are the market values for these type of services. And then we will refine the budget if the proposal is selected. And you will not be prejudiced if you over or underestimate the budget for our support services. But of course that they have to be more or less aligned with what is practiced in the market. Now, for the last section of the technical proposal, we have an ethical checklist because some of your projects might have ethical issues, and we ask you to fill in this questionnaire. If you think that, or if you have a yes to a question, some of these questions, and of course that we are mainly concerned with the fact that you might be using human cells or tissues. So if you answer yes to one of these questions, you can contact us, you can reach to us, and we can try to support you in understanding if you need to provide further information in the proposal, or if you need to address something meanwhile before or during the evaluation stage. Now, the evaluation process, just to before finishing this presentation and opening up for questions. So the evaluation process, after we have your submission, we will start doing the eligibility check. Okay, we will start checking if you comply with the eligibility criteria, and if you are aligned with the technology domain that you have. We will do like kind of a pre-screening process where we will be looking into the information that is established in the guide for applicants, and if it all is fulfilled. If your proposal is eligible, then it will go into stage 3. And stage 3 is an in-depth evaluation of your proposal. So your evaluation will be remote evaluated by a panel, so an evaluation panel that will be composed by both internal and external experts. So we have experts from the consortium and also external experts that we are selecting through a call of expression of interests. And that will be also jointly with us evaluating your proposal. If your proposal or starting with the highest scoring proposals in descending and sequential order, we will be inviting you for an interview. So an interview where you will be able to provide us more information, you will be able to clarify pending issues, to explain a little bit more how you are going to exploit your technology and so on. So it depends on the evaluation that is done in the first step. And if your proposal is successful in passing these 2 steps, then you will be recommended for funding, and this recommendation will be taken and brought up to the INNO4COV-19 Evaluation Committee and to the European Commission for approval. And following the acceptance of these 2 bodies, then we will be communicating the results of the evaluation process. And please be aware here that, as you know, we have an indicative budget. So overall, the open call will provide 3 million euros in terms of financial support. We have already supported 18, or we are already supporting 18 projects in the first stage, which means that in theory, we will have around 12 projects to be supported in the second cutoff, if, of course, the projects ask for the maximum financial support. And so what we will be doing here is actually to, so the type or the number of projects that we will be selecting, it depends on the budget, on the grant budget available that we have. And so even if your proposal reached the threshold in all the criteria that we have, the mandatory criteria, you may not be selected for funding because we have these budget constraints, but this is a regular or a typical situation in this type of proposals. Just here to show you before we go to the Q&A. So these are the criteria that we will be considering when we're evaluating a proposal. So the impact of the technology that you have. So we will be looking into the impact that you will have in the fight against COVID. If the proposal is addressing needs that are not currently met by other solutions, available solutions. We will also try to understand if your company is well positioned to exploit the results, if there is a clear exploitation strategy in place. On the excellence of the idea and the approach, we will be looking into the objectives that you have, if they were smart, okay, specific, measurable, assigned, and realistic, time-bound. If you have a clear vision, okay, to the approach that you will have to take your technology to the market, if you are addressing regulatory issues, certification issues, and so on, and if your technology is innovative. So we will be looking at if it is groundbreaking or if it combines in an innovative way existing technologies and so on. On the quality and efficiency of the implementation, we will be mainly looking to your work plan, if it is aligned, the budget, the resources that you have allocated, if it is aligned with the objectives. And then on a final criteria on the added value contribution from our network, we will be trying to understand if you have specifically identified what is our added value to your proposal, if you have requested support services from us, and if you are aware of our relevance to your, or if we could be of assistance to the implementation of your project. Criteria 1 to 3 are scored with a scale from 0 to 5. And there is a minimum threshold. So you have to have 3 out of 5 to be considered eligible for an interview. And criterion 4 is scored with 0 or 2. So if you mention our support, then we will value this criteria with 1. And so this is, with this I conclude the presentation of the INNO4COV open call. And now I will be going into the questions that you have included here in the, so in the Q&A. We asked you at the beginning of the on the chat to please include the questions here in the Q&A, so it's easier for us. And for those questions that have not been answered, okay, so during this info session, we have your emails and your names, and we will be providing you the feedback through email. And I also invite you to reach to us through the email that you see here. So the info@INNO4COV19.eu, and we will try to answer your questions as soon as possible. So, I apologize in advance if we are not able to answer in a timely manner. But as you are aware, we have a lot of proposals that we need to evaluate, especially during the after the cutoff dates. Okay, so once the evaluation starts. So I will start here by a question from Alessandro Paglia. So the question is, so the development of our solution requires the approval of a research ethics committee. Do we need to have this approval before submitting the proposal? So you don't have to have the approval before submitting the proposal, but we advise that you explain on your proposal exactly the steps that you foresee, the information that you will be collecting to request the approval from the Research Ethics Committee, and basically to outline the strategy that you have. And you may be requested, if your proposal is successful in reaching the evaluation stage, you might be requested to share more information on this, okay? So, but we advise that you include as much information as possible on the technical proposal. So next, a question from Ali Boudiaf. I will be purchasing electronic component from European distributors, but the components are coming from US or China. Do I have to answer yes to the question 6 about importing materials? Yes, we advise that you answer yes here. Okay, just so that we are aware of this. And maybe you can also include this note after the questionnaire, you can include this, so that the evaluators are aware that you are talking about electronic components. Another question from Antonio Zuojo. We developed a proprietary equipment with proprietary solutions to treat and disinfect surfaces in hospitals, educational buildings, and so on. Are those developed and specific solutions either supported or only the developed equipment? So what you are asking here, if I'm not mistaken, is if the acquisition of these solutions are eligible within the cost. But maybe you can address this question through email if you don't mind, just to be sure. But as I said, if I'm not answering to your question, but as we have explained before, so we have materials and components that are eligible costs. So these in principle would be eligible if they are integrated in the final solution. The questions from Alessandro Massarini. So we have some questions regarding responsible to contact INL by phone or email. Okay, so here we advise you, Alessandro, to reach us through the info@INNO4COV-19. Okay, so it would be better if you do the questions directly through there, since this is the channel that we have to answer to your questions. So a question from Dean Sirik. So what is the meaning of a TRL 6 or 7? So the technology, so this is a gray area in some technologies, okay? Because for instance, if we are talking about a specific technology that needs to be validated in an operational environment for COVID-19 virus, we are aware that you may not be able to have those results because we are in this context during this year. It seems like it is for 10 years, but it's only 1 year. So we are aware that in some cases, you will not be able to show us the validation in a relevant and operational environment. But if you show that you have strong evidences that your technology is applicable and that during the project it will be attainable and it will be ready to be exploited for the COVID-19 context, then we will consider it as a TRL 6 or 7. It really depends on the technology. But if you look, I invite you to take a look into the definitions that the European Union uses for TRL 6, for the TRLs, so that you can have a clearer idea. There is also a relevant document from the EIT Health that is specifically addressing technology readiness levels on health technologies that I also invite you to take a look into. You can quickly go into the Google and find them, but I will do the following. I will put the links for these documents in the frequently asked questions document. Okay, I will try to put them during this week so that you can also take a look into them, so that you can understand a little bit more what is this definition. Now, another question for Tommaso. So how long will the evaluation process take and when the projects will start? So I believe that we have already answered to this question. So the evaluation process will take 40 working days, up to 40 working days after the submission, after the cutoff date, sorry. It depends actually on the volume of applications that we will be receiving, but the projects may start after the official communication of the results. So another question, with overhead, a company can get 100K plus 15K as long as the services is not subcontracted. Is this correct? No, here the overheads are included in the overall amount of 100K, okay? So 100K is the maximum financial support that you can receive. So I see that I have here a question that is quite long, and it is specifically asking if we could accept a project. So here, and I'm going to give you the answer that I am giving through that we are giving through the help. So we are not. So we are not allowed to provide specific recommendations on the alignment of projects within the open call. Okay, so what we advise you to do is to read carefully the guide for applicants. Also take a look into the projects that we are supporting in this first cutoff if you have some questions. So you can find there that there are relevant information already on the title of the projects, and you can have a clearer idea of the type of technologies that we are supporting. But we cannot provide judgments, specific judgments on the alignment of applications or projects to the open call. Now, the next question, will a nonprofit research institute legally recognized that according to its status offers research services be eligible as single applicant? No, so here we are only considering eligible applicants. So they have to be companies, okay? Legally recognized, profitable companies. So the next question, funding can be only used for expertise of the consortium, or the applicant own costs can be reimbursed, or the consortium expertise comes as a bonus. Okay, so in the funding, you will have to include costs for our support services. Of course, that apart from support services that are more in-depth, let's say, that require a huge effort from our side, we will of course demand that you, or request that you include a budget for those services in your proposal. But what we will be providing is some guidance, technical guidance, regulatory guidance, and consultancy as much as possible, of course, into some extent. And the awarded projects will also have a project delivery manager, we call it like this, so a project manager from our side that will be following your implementation and that will try to assist you as much as possible during the implementation of your project. So another question, so on the services, are technical services support, such as the redesign of a prototype, included in the list of possibilities? Okay, so here I would say that yes, as long as we are talking about fine-tuning of prototypes, because this means that, so if we are addressing technologies that are already at a TRL 6 or 7, this means that you have already a prototype in place that is functioning and that is validated in a relevant environment. But of course, that we are aware that some fine-tuning might be needed or a redesign of specific components, as long as we are not talking about huge differences, because this then would conflict with the TRL level. But yes, you can include costs for that. So another question. So I will jump in the question, sorry, just to give the possibility for those of you that pose questions more at the end of the presentation to be able to have your questions answered. But we will, of course, and obviously answer to all of your questions through email. But for instance, here I have a question for Tilia Dahu. So is it possible to submit a project to develop one technology with two similar but distant applications, or does it need to focus on only one product? Okay, this is an interesting question, because I mean, yes, it can be used for two different applications, okay? But you will have to check if this is achievable during the time frame that we have, because we are talking about 1 year of development. So if the technology that you want to develop is easily achievable or easily applicable into distant applications through the time frame of the project, then yes, we do not put limits in terms of number of products or applications that you have in one proposal. It all has to make sense within the overall picture of the project. Okay, so here a question from Howard. If there is a project similar to one funded in the first cutoff, it could be funded too in the second call. So obviously, when we evaluate the second batch of proposals, we of course will be looking into the projects that are already approved in the first cutoff. If we are talking about a project that is equal or that is completely overlapping and that does not solve an additional challenge, I mean, I cannot say that we will not fund it, but this will be a criteria that will be taken into account if we have proposals with the same score, okay? So it will be a factor to decide from a project over another. Okay, a question from Simon. Do we have to contact the partner of INNO4COV-19 before writing the proposal in order to estimate together the budget for their support services? Can we simply indicate their activities and contact them only after the call? Okay, so I believe I answered this question through the presentation. So you don't need to, and you should not contact with us during the proposal stage, because we want to ensure that all applicants have the same information. And this is why through the help desk, we might not be answering to all of your questions. So we might refer to the guide for applicants, and we might let you know that we are not able to give you that information, because we are talking about very specific and tailored information that is applicable to your project. And so in those cases, we cannot provide you assistance. So we advise you to budget the services according to market values. Okay, so a question to here that I have, I'm going to scroll down a little bit. From Natalia Alfaro, is it mandatory to request services from the INNO4COV-19 platform? So it is not mandatory, okay? So, and as you can see on the criteria that we have, criterion 4, which is the one that specifically evaluates this point, does not have a threshold. So it will be seen, and it is seen as an additional point to the evaluation score. But as you are aware, and as I explained at the beginning of the presentation, so our idea is to develop this platform, okay? And the platform cannot exist or cannot be well developed if we don't have lessons learned, and if we don't have insights, and if we don't have an experience of providing services to projects. And that's and it is precisely what the open call is doing within the context of INNO4COV-19 project. And that's why we advise applicants to include requests or services from our platform, because this will be then a symbiotic relationship, and it will be aligned with the INNO4COV-19 project. Now, another question for Miguel Vaz. Is it mandatory to reach a TRL 9 at the end of the 12 months project, or is it okay if we finish in TRL 8 and have a clinical trial certification that started with the project, but it's not already finished in the middle of the road? Thank you. Okay, so Miguel, ideally, and the European Commission objective and our objective as well is to really put solutions into the market as soon as possible, so that we can fight COVID-19 and we can surpass the challenges that we have been facing in this last year, and that we will for sure face in the next coming months. And so ideally, we would need to have a TRL 9 solution. But we understand that for some cases, 1 year is too little. And also, obviously, taking into account the restrictions or the lack of availability of notifying bodies in what relates to certifications aspects. And so we are aware of this, and this will be evaluated case by case. So if you are not able to reach a TRL 9 at the end of the 12 months, at least you will have to have sufficient evidences and to reach critical milestones that give us the safety that you will, in the next 6 months or during the duration of our project at least, have solutions really close to the market. So we have time for 3 more questions, but once again, we will try to answer to your questions through your email. If you don't get an answer from us during this week, please send us an email through info@inno4cov19.eu, because we will be reminded that we will need to answer to your question. So here, another question. Who will be from Gianluca? So who will be the IPR owner? So the consortium, and this is a very important question that we have been receiving and that we have received through the first cutoff. So the IP is solely yours. So as long as you don't request support services from us that involve the creation of new knowledge, so it follows similar service acquisition procedures. Okay, if you request a service from us, but by accessing to the financial support itself, the IP is yours. So we don't have any obligations or any rights over your IP. Okay, if you involve one of our partners in the provision of a service or in providing a support service for you that requires the creation of new knowledge, then it will have to be assessed case by case. But this is what is regularly seen outside of the scope of this open call. So you will be the owners of the IP in a general way. Now, a second a second last question. Let me go here for the last ones. From Ali, if we submit 2 projects, do we have to divide the amount requested to have a maximum of 100K? I mean, here, so the limits that we have, as you know, are per project and per single party, so per applicant. And this is applicable for companies and also for consortium, okay? So the limits is also applicable for consortium. This means that, I mean, it's up to you. So if you want to submit 2 projects, because you don't know if both of them will be approved, you can submit it with 100K, or you can divide between the 2 projects. So this is up to you. So what we will check is if you're a single project and a single entity or applicant does not have exceeded this 100K. And now for a last question. Here, the last question from Almudena is, it is not clear to me how the support from the network works. An estimation of the costs for support activities from the network must be included in the budget. Does it mean that we will be paying directly the members of the network for the services? Yes, this means that, so if you decide to have support from our side, you will be paying directly to the partner that will be providing you the support. So the process will go out of the INNO4COV-19 project, and you will be negotiating directly with a partner. What happens if the estimation is wrong? So as I said before, we will not give less score or high score if you don't estimate right the budget, okay? So we are aware that it's not easy to estimate exactly the support costs, but we advise you to look at the costs that are in the market and to include them. And then if your proposal is successful, we can refine the budget and set the budget to the exact value. And last, if we are not familiar with the costs of some certifications, because it is the first time for us requesting certifications, then we ask the members directly for some indications. So here I would advise you to assess a value that is regularly, or you can try to find in the market. So I cannot forbid you to contact the partners in the consortium, but I would advise you not to do so. So to search for market values that are easily available for you. And so first, I would like to actually, we don't have much more time for questions. So thank you everyone for joining here us today in this info session. Thank you for your interest in the INNO4COV-19 open call. We will try to provide answers to your questions as soon as possible, and don't hesitate to reach us through our app. So thank you very much, and it was a pleasure to be here today with you. Bye-bye.